And so I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Stephen, but just as a real quick recap, we've been talking, Raj is working on an RFP and wants to better understand our payroll control center capabilities as well as the pay-to-pay comparison requirements that you guys have. So we're going to focus on that today, but please feel free to ask any questions as we go along.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Hi, everybody. It's Steve Gallo. I've met some of you on this call. And here's my agenda for today. First, it's actually kind of just what Chris said. We're going to go through Payroll Control Center. I'm going to go through Payroll Control Center, like the UI itself first, just to point out our integration points, and then and show you some of the reconciliations we can do within it. Then we're going to go into Easy Reporter. Most of you people are familiar with that product. Easy Reporter is the driver that we use to manipulate the Payroll Control Center. And we'll talk about the configuration in there, because really what it boils down to is kind of what this slide is, right? Like Payroll Control Center is free, the configuration is not. What we've done is we've built an RDS specifically for policies, a rapid deployment solution that leverages the flexibility of Easy Reporter to generate the policy exceptions. We've also recently added some holistic reporting where you can run like the entire payroll area, not just individual policies, for reporting and have it exposed to the user through a UI. In essence, and then after that, we're going to do the pay-to-pay comparison with external data, i.e. from ADP. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool. You guys know Payroll Control Center. We're not going to go through a whole lot of this. It's not super flexible. SAP does deliver its own RDS, which is nice. You know, you get a bunch of policies out there. They come with some KPIs and life is good. But what we've done is, if you look at the right-hand side here, we've kind of said, you know what, that's great, SAP, thank you, but our customers need flexibility. They're going to check different things that you didn't think of, right? I have customers checking, certain vacation and time and all sorts of stuff that doesn't come with the RDS out there. That said, here's the way our solution breaks down is we come with a report that handles everything pretty much in the standard SAP RDS. Things that are like high net, low net, people who are missing bank details. There's like 30 some of them out there. And we have them built as easy reports. Why is that important? Why does it matter compared to SAP? Well, the SAP ones aren't as flexible, right? SAP, you can change certain things like, make it over from $1,000 per period for high net to $2,000 per period for net, and then that policy would pop. But we found that our customers are like, you know what, for this policy, I want to see hourly people who got paid over $500, and I want to see salary people who made over 5,000 and executives who made over X amount of dollars, right? That type of flexibility is not really in there when it comes to Payroll Control Center. But since we have Easy Reporter as our engine, all those common things that we want to sort by, we can actually filter out with Easy Reporter. That said, for you guys' purposes, right now, it's just the policies. We can definitely manipulate policies and build reports to do that. We're working on a KPI solution for the system as well. It's going to probably be in one of our next 2 releases, but right now, from a KPI standpoint, you can use the SAP KPIs that come with it. But we are working on a solution so people can build KPIs using Easy Reporter as well. But right now, it's just policies. Any questions so far before I kind of go through this?
No, we're good.
Okay.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, good. I love partner meetings. Everybody gets it. Let me see here. I have a bunch of demos today, so I have a couple different windows open. Okay. So what I'd like to do is just go through the UI of Payroll Control Center, because there's definitely some integration points that we integrate and that you wouldn't think we do out there. I have this monthly simulation, US monthly simulation that I ran and got it up to the monitoring step, because that's where we come in. We come in at the policies, right? So what is wrong with certain people in this simulation? And the simulation steps, I believe, were simple. It was just calculate the payroll. Don't tell me I got logged out. Oh, no, there it goes. Yeah, so it was just run the payroll simulation. I kicked off the policies, which are actually Easy Reporter reports. We're still all integrated into Payroll Control Center. I'm not doing anything outside in the SAP GUI. Everything's strictly integrated. I kicked off the policies, and now we're in the monitoring step, and you can see that I got like 56 of these things assigned to me. Let me go to my monitor. So in Payroll Control Center, here's me. Here's my 56 things that are wrong, and here's the policies that popped out there for certain people. And you can imagine it's standard things like in the RDS, missing master data, retro pay over a certain amount. This is over 1,000. I believe that's the one I want to go into, retro pay over 1,000. Yeah, let's go in this guy. So here's where things get interesting. When you're talking about payroll control center and you go into a policy, there's all these different types of solutions and information that you can display within here. These things are actually, because you're going to see it when we get into the config of Easy Reporter, these are actually configurable. You don't have to go into the IMG to set this stuff up or manipulate the SAP policy. These things are actually configured directly in Easy Reporter. What we can actually do from a solution standpoint is say, what should be available here? Do we want to change some basic master data? Do we want to, you could have another item in here to go into success factors and update something there, right? It would pop open another window because these are all pay related. So obviously I got like basic pay, one-time payments in here. Maybe that might be the fix that you want to do. And then you see some details over here. These are totally configurable as well. It requires no code. What essentially this is there's a separate report tied to this policy that says, hey, what do you want to show in here is information regarding this. This is retro pay over $1,000. So maybe we want to see the employee number, which we kind of have over here, which we don't need. And maybe we want to see the amount that was paid in retro out there to give us an idea of what we're going at. But you could put anything in here. You could put in the employee type. You could put in, where they're working, their personal areas or company codes, any of the data that's available for this employee. So again, setting up a policy, it's really a report that caused this to pop, and we'll take a look at that in a second. And then again, manipulating what you want to be shown on the policy, and we'll see that in the config, is all done through Easy Reporter, not through the IMG. Let's go in here and actually reconcile one of these things. Let's take this guy down here, Braden. So he had a retro amount of $4,166. So we're going to go in because we're going to try to figure out what's actually wrong with this guy. So we get this overview of detail regarding the employee, right? We might want to know if he's hourly, salary, staff. Oops, excuse me, sorry. I screened that. Hourly, salary, where he might work. Is he hired? Is he termed? This, again, what you're looking at here is actually an Easy Report. You define in a report what you want to show per this specific policy out there. So it's totally configurable. If you wanted to take anything out of it, you could. If you needed to add any master data, it's as easy as changing the report and rerunning the policies in Payroll Control Center, and it generates the data out there. So this is where the configuration in our rapid deployment solution really shines. We deliver all these policies with reports and master data already done. And then when it comes to your implementation, should your client want to make changes out there, they just go into Easy Reporter, drag the fields off, save it, and they're good to go. Or conversely, they need a policy that's not something we deliver, and they can go in and build their own report for it. But here's where I think this gets really cool. Like, we got to figure out why this guy had retro pay over $1,000. It was at $4,100 we saw at the beginning. You can embed a full reporting menu into your different policies out there. And the menu can be different per policy. It doesn't have to be the same. We kind of have like a generic payroll one that we kind of use out here. For example, let's figure out where that $4,100 came from, right? The retroactivity. So these reports are set up, they run for the period that's being run in Payroll Control Center. There's no extra config there. It's just smart and knows that. So let me just go down here. So this is broken out by gross, deductions, and pay. So here's his salary, and here's the retro amount, and there's that $4,166 that occurred out there. This occurred on his salary, and it retroed back to period 2, right? So this is a monthly guy, period 2 of 2018, so that's February. And we can actually see the differences of what actually occurred, right? So he got retroed over. What was his originally? He made 10,000 and something. Now he's getting paid 12,000, which nets out to that retro difference of the 4,100. And that's cool, right? You can sit here and say, I know which wage types are affected, because it might not be salary, right? It could be some deduction. It could be some time. Like, who knows what occurred with this? This one's fairly straightforward, right? But you want to know, well, what caused this salary change, or what caused this deduction, or where did it actually happen inside of the payroll system? And that's where these reports really come in handy, right? So let's go back to our report list, because you can imagine if it's a time-related thing, you might have time reports out there to do research. If it's a simple missing master data, you might have a report out here that shows the employee's entire master data set. But we're going to look at his audit details and see actually what changed on this employee. And you do have to have some sort of payroll knowledge, like the people who will be reconciling this. Like if they saw a deduction, they'd probably know where that is. But even if they didn't know where that is, like this was with salary, his base pay was affected. Let's just scroll this down a little bit. All right, so we ran an audit log for this employee. So here's Braden, and he definitely had a change keyed by myself. Effective that begin date's law. Back in period 2 for info type 8. So his salary went from $125,000 to $150,000. That's essentially what happened on this person, which would affect their salary, which would explain the wage type discrepancy. So for the wage type retro, and that's probably a fine change. Somebody keyed his retro too far back, and that's what occurred. And that maybe that's fine. This retro over a certain amount, you might see somebody that keyed something 2 years ago that we're like, oh no, you know what? There's a better way to do that. Let's go change his master data and make the changes. So to recap, and I'll stop talking for a second. Everything you just saw, but this whole entire policy engine that we have is all built with the Easy Reporter. I'm going to show you how that works. And in addition, the configuration elements that show you the information about the policy, what we're also going to see, they're also set up in Easy Reporter. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right,
A lot
let's hop,
prettier than the
let's,
SAP audit log, I'll tell you that.
yeah, a little bit. This is true. Let's go over here. Again, I got a bunch of systems open. I want this one. This is one of our development systems that has a full RDS put into it. Oh, I forgot one thing. I apologize before I go into the system because I opened up something else. Is this it? Yeah. So this is another monthly run. One of the other steps, it wasn't set up in that dev system. We're kind of testing it out, and it is done and working. We just haven't moved it to a proper stable box yet. One of the steps you can put in there for your payroll, whether it's in simulation mode or in production mode, is this reporting step now. And what it'll do is you can actually link up full reports to run. So what we found is, yeah, that's great. You pop the policies, but when this thing runs, I want to see a payroll register, or I want to see something, right? I want to know what was my total net, what was my total gross, because the payroll manager who comes in here, who is executing these different steps, they want to see holistically what happened in this pay period, because they know, right? They know their gross or their net pay for an average pay period is, you know, $1.2 million. And if they go in there and they see only 600,000, they know there's a problem. So there's this full set of reports, and this looks a little messy. I apologize. I tried to clean it up today, but just didn't get to it. You can technically embed any report that you want into this step, and it's an Easy Report, and it will run for the current payroll areas that are being processed through this step. For example, we have this headcount report. Obviously, you probably want a register or something else better in here. We can go and view this report, and it's going to open up our web reporting menu again. I would probably put, like, you know, a register, some sort of tax thing, something that you know, managers use to sign off on the payroll. That's correct. In addition, any of these reports that are run through here, you can automate them and they get emailed to certain people if you want to. Obviously, you'd hope they'd come inside, but so we can do a headcount report for Australia. All right, this is very generic. You get the idea, though. I can take any report, whether it's payroll, headcount, HR, and I can embed it into to run with the payroll control center process. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So this was new. If some of you have already seen our PCC solution, this part was new as of the next release that's coming out, so we can have a full-on reporting step in there. Now, now I will go into the system. Here we go. Okay, so what we've done, and I have a white paper on this somewhere, or a brief, which someone at your company has a hold of at some point in time, is we've built easy reports for all the different policies, at least the ones that SAP has come out with. Our struggle is coming up with the country-specific ones. We haven't really had too many conversations with our global customers on what they're doing globally, because all the SAP ones are kind of built generically in nature. I guess we did do a few country-specific things for the United States out there, garnishment tables and things like that, allowances. But these are just reports. These things are totally changeable at any point in time. For example, gross pay over amount. So this report is delivered as a threshold of $10,000. So if your gross pay is over $10,000, it's going to pop. And if you need to change that to make it 5,000 or 15,000, you're just editing a report and you're changing the filter on it. You resave it, and then now this policy is set up to do whichever amounts you want. Or you can put in other fields, complex filters, whatever your customer needs to make sure that they're getting what they want. This, by the way, all this config, it is all loaded via transport, by the way. So Easy Reporter comes built in with all these different reports. when you load the transport, and then you activate the PCC functionality. So installing this thing is not overly complicated. It's just as easy as installing the Easy Reporter. Configuration. Question.
Yeah, question. Stephen, the data center where this will be located, can we have, I know you guys run this off Amazon. Can we have it in a Canadian data center or?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a transport, right? So you're going to install it in this person's ECC system, or wherever it's hosted, whether it's on an Amazon service in Azure or wherever it might be. It's just a set of transports that sits on the ECC application stack.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it's not like Easy Reporter where we have to have it hosted somewhere else.
Easy Reporter is typically not hosted. Maybe you guys have a demo system that we host for you, but technically if it was at a customer site, it would be installed in that customer's box.
Okay, even though it's SuccessFactors and ECP.
Yeah, so you would install this in the ECP box out there. So that customer is going to have ECP, they're going to have a dev, a QA, and a production. You'd install it in their dev box and promote it through the track.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Right, so let's say you get this installed into someone's ECP box and then you want to start setting this stuff up out there. Let me go here into Payroll Control Center. This is our Easy Reporter config, and we'll pull up the one that we were looking at earlier just to keep it consistent. Retro pay over amount. So what we've done, and we can see the policies that are active. This one's, let's see a config change. There's certain ones that are active in here and certain ones that are like in a pending status. But essentially what we've done, this would actually all get pre-delivered. So all these different checks get pre-delivered. You can modify them as you see fit out there. You can see which report they're pointed at. You can create your own up here. You could create a piece of paper, create another validation rule that says people with vacation over 40 hours for the week or for the pay period out there, and link another report to that. But all those different elements that I pointed out where I said this is configuration from Easy Reporter, it's displaying us these values, it's displaying us these solutions out there. That's kind of all done through the configuration. For example, when we saw that one record that had, you could change the basic pay or you could change the one-time payments. You're doing that in here. So you're going in here, making some modifications. I probably should have put this in change mode. It would look a little better. I know I'm editing a default item. All right, so you could create a new row in here. And if it was an info type you wanted to change, or if it was, I think we added it in this box. Right, so you could actually call Employee Central as well, especially if you're doing ECP. Most of that master data would probably be maintained in there. I call the Employee Central profile. There's different actions that we can do in here. I'm not sure if they built this whole thing out. So we can display certain things about the employee profile. There are different values in here. I can't remember how to set it up to say, go to this portion of the profile, go to this one, because if you're changing deductions or you're changing pay, there are ways to do that in ECC or with an Employee Central type setup. So we got that one covered. Any of the information you want to display about in those error messages, for example, we were looking at that gross retro over amount. It was showing the pay. It was showing the gross pay that was in retro from that specific report. This is just an easy report. If you can pick any field you want in the report to show, it'll execute it for that guy for that period, and it'll display the information. So we're not hard coding values, we're not doing anything like that. If you needed to change what that customer wanted displayed, because again, maybe they wanted their, employee subgroup shown there, that their hourly or salary or something. It's just as simple as adding this report and going and modifying it. I will tell you from an implementation standpoint, what we've done with customers, we're like, here's the whole RDS, and they've kind of run through it, right? Because out of the box, it works fine. And then they're going to go, well, you know what? This information helps us better. This information helps us better. You don't really know going into it what people want to change, to be quite honest with you, because people, especially when you're doing a new implementation, they don't even know what the data looks like in most cases. And that's essentially how this works. Once this config is live and published, right? So we have these active things, it's then available inside of Payroll Control Center. So when you go back into PCC, and let's say you want to do some policy configuration, so you're going to have in your process configuration, you're going to say, all right, here's our process. It's for payroll area, US biweekly. And then in that step, you're going to pick a set of policies that you want to run for that specific process out there. And once you have the Easy Reporter config set up, and this takes just a second out here, You can create a group of policies. For example, I have these US policies down here. And Payroll Control Center is smart enough to say, these are the validation rules we currently have set up for this US policies. We can change these. And we can add, so you can see the SpinFX policies, or some of them are already in here, the ones we looked at earlier. And if you want to change it or add a new one, it follows standard PCC configuration out there. So once the easy reports that you want to become made available are turned on, then it's just it's the same exact process you would use to go configure any of the policy steps out there as you would in standard PCC. So here's my gross retro, missing 105. We could do pay-to-pay differences. We could add a new one here. You check the box, click OK. It gets added to the system. So we definitely, once you have the reports ready to go the way you need them, then configuring the PCC portion is exactly the same as you would setting up PCC for standard SAP. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. That is it in a nutshell. I do have a brief or an RDS I can send to Chris, and she can send out to everyone else on this phone. Actually, I think the last one we sent GroupeX was probably one of the older ones, but it lists all the policies that come with our in fact, it's right here. So Google Drive, PCC. We got time. PCC, Payroll Control Center. Let's just do this RDS, because there's one out here here it is, RDS 2018. So I can send you guys this document. It's going to list all the policies that come. Obviously, the configuration elements you guys are going to know, but it lists and gives an example of everything that we ship with out there. It doesn't yet include that whole holistic reporting, but I'll try to include a blurb in it, or you guys will remember that that's out there, and that'll be released in our next version of the software.
I think I've sent this to you, Raj. I believe that document was attached in the information I sent you already.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. Who wants to talk? You have any questions about Payroll Control Center, or do you want to talk about pay-to-pay comparisons?
Yeah, can we look at that pay-to-pay comparison? Because one of the things that we just want to make sure is using an external like ADP and ECP, we're able to achieve that just.
All right, so is this because they're migrating from ADP to PCC and you're trying to do the payroll parallels during implementation? Is that the idea behind this?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. I know that ADP file. It's not pleasant. Let's go here. I've pretty much gotten it to work with certain circumstances. It's the tax authority mapping that's always terrible on that file. That said, it definitely is possible if you map it out. Anyway, let's take a look. I got this flat file on my desktop. And essentially, it doesn't have to be in this format. It can be in any kind of format you want. But there definitely has to be some sort of mapping that takes place, because you're going to have in your ADP system, you're going to have net, right? And net we know is /559 in SAP. So you're going to get an ADP file that says it's got a pay code of US net, whatever it might be. And it's going to have a dollar amount to it, $50. And then you're going to have to map the fact that US net in ADP is /559 out there. There's no way around that, because we'd have to get like for like. And you only have to do it once, right? So you're going to have this base file. Let's say this is period 1 of, or period, what would you go live? So this is period 10 for a monthly payroll of 2018, because we're going live in 2019 out there. So you download the data out of SAP for that payroll, or out of ADP for that payroll period, and then it's frozen, right? This is the data that we got. These are the mappings that get it to SAP, and we're good. Then comes this. We leave this file on our desktop or wherever we're going to leave it for Easy Reporter to consume. Because Easy Reporter, I'm sorry, the Zoom is in the way. I'm trying to get this window closed. And oh, by the way, this file is name, and it can just be employee number. You don't have the name on it. This one just happens. It's got to have some sort of wage type or earnings code, or definitely a wage type for SAP. So it could be the hours, the rate, and then the amount possibly that goes along with that pay code. You don't have to do hours, amount, and rate. You could just have the amount and go with it. You could have hours and amount that go with it. It's irrelevant which columns you have. I'm just trying to show you that we can import these values, and because it's mapped to a wage type, we can tie it in. Let's say no. Okay. Let's go over here. All right, this is another demo system. Let me go into Easy Reporter. And coincidentally, I just did this for a PeopleSoft implementation a couple of weeks ago. We didn't get all the tax authorities mapped yet. They still got to get me that, but it was definitely going to work. We proved it out. Because what we do is this. Let's go here. I'm in the wrong spot. I want to go here. Payroll compare testing after. Easy. So the process is this, right? You're going to calculate the payroll in SAP based on the master data that you have, and then you're going to compare it to what's in that file, and that's where this step comes in. Because what it does is you can obviously use Easy Reporter. It's going to include some SAP payroll in this run right here, but we can also importing a file in this. We're importing that same file that's sitting on my desktop, and any of the columns in that file can actually now kind of become like fields in my report. And there's ways to kind of map these things to the different columns of the report that we're generating with Easy Reporter out there. And we run it. And the nice part about this is, right, it's a constant VLOOKUP if you don't have this. You're going to sit there and say, okay, we compared our file and then, you know, this deduction didn't calculate right. So then we got to go change the config in SAP, recalc payroll, re-download the data, redo the VLOOKUP, and then see if our difference is fixed. The nice part about this is, and by the way, these people have no differences. They're all kind of tie out right. I should probably have edited something on the file to show somebody with a difference. Because we can see on the file for Nora, her total gross for this pay period, which is a semi-monthly period back in 2006, she had $5,680 some dollars in the file, and she had this in SAP, which nets out to nothing. Obviously, if you were building an audit, you'd only have it show you what was actually different, but for the sake of demonstration, it's showing us all this. Let's say it wasn't the same, right? Let's say, all right, she had a $20 difference. You got to go back into Dev, change config, recalc the payroll, and you have to re-download the data, redo the VLOOKUP. Once your payroll's recalced, because you have the base file out there, you just go in and push the button, right? So, all right, we made the config change. Let's save it, recalc payroll for this person. Let's rerun the file and see if it ties out. So it is essentially saving you the VLOOKUP step and a download is what it does. You get your file, you get it mapped, you throw it in to be consumed by Easy Reporter, and then you can keep on comparing as often as you like. Does that kind of help explain it?
Ed, it's all you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So after you do config change, you rerun pay, then you just rerun the report. There's no getting a new file and whatnot.
Yep, it's just kind of saves you a couple steps in the process. You're gonna have to redo the config, you have to redo the payroll. We save you on the comparison step, if you would. That's kind of it as it pertains to that particular topic. If there's no, I'll leave it open for any further questions. If not, I'll turn it back to Chris.
Mm-hmm. So, Raj, is that kind of the information you were looking for?
Yeah, no, it's very good information. It really helps us speak, you know, when we get into the conversation with Payroll Control Center, this is going to really help us speak volume about this product to the client. So, you know, it's really good.
Okay. We do have some collateral materials in addition to what I've already sent you for the RFP that you guys are welcome to use in your discussions. And you should be able to access that through the partner portal. If you don't have access to that, let me know and I'll make sure you get set up. But that includes, you know, demo decks and things like that.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
I'll throw one more thing into the soup here. Once they're live, let me see if this is set up correctly. Yeah, this is kind of working. Once they're live on ECP, you can still do comparisons, but you wouldn't be doing comparisons with the file. You would be doing comparisons between dev, QA, and possibly production out there, right? So you apply a service pack. Let's clone all our data from production. Let's get it down in dev, or at least a handful of people out there. Get their master data in sync, and then let's calculate dev payroll. And what we can do is we can look at the data in dev, and we can also look at the data in another system out there and see if things match up. Because more or less what we can do now with Easy Reporter is we can report across multiple systems out there. So you can add in here Like this is reporting off of, I'm in DMO. It's also pulling in data from my DM1 system. So you can, that whole parallel comparison process that you do throughout the life cycle of your payroll, you can also still do an easy reporter by reporting between multiple systems. Just thought I'd throw that in there because we're on that topic.
Actually, Chris and Stephen, I have actually a question. So since this is a hosted solution and you're making enhancements to the product, now going forward, if there's new enhancements, you would deliver them to the client. Is it part of the subscription fees or it's something additional?
So I'm sorry, which part is additional?
When you deliver a new enhancement to the product and that needs to be
Oh.
supported. Yeah, because the reason I'm asking this question is because now they're part of a cloud solution where the actual vendor is managing everything, right? And we're adding another component to it. So that's why I just want to make sure we're able to.
Right. No, the subscription fees include the licensing for the software, which then also includes any upgrades and enhancements in our releases throughout the years.
Okay, and that deployment, is it done by SpinFX or it has to be done by the client for us?
We actually, we can work it out depending on the situation, but in general, we come in and do the training, but you guys would do the installation of the software.
Okay.
And there is an additional charge for the training. Just keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
Any questions?
If you guys think of anything else, just shoot me an email. We can certainly either set up another call or just kind of go back and forth and email to answer questions, whatever works best.
All right, perfect.
And Chris, you mentioned that the Nova Scotia, they're already using SpinFX, right? They're already a customer?
They are. Linda can speak to that. We have quite a few of them. Linda, do you want to speak to that? Is she still on? Linda?
She was sick. She might be broken.
Yeah, she might be having no voice at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm on, Chris. Can you repeat the client question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Amin was asking about our other customers in Nova Scotia. Do you want to just kind of run down that list real quick?
Off the top of my head, we have I just sent you that list, Chris. I think there was a total of 9 between the provinces. Yep.
Yeah.
If you want, I can resend this to you.
Yeah, I sent the list to Raj too with all the information.
Okay.
So yeah, we have.
Yeah, I'll prep that with Raj then.
Yeah, I've got it up here. We've got the Health Authority, Halifax Regional Municipality, Halifax Regional Water, Province of Nova Scotia, School Board, Housing Authority, things like that.
Great.
Any of them are
Yeah,
operating
we have a really strong
or
presence.
they're all on.
Are they all on-prem, Linda?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Great. Okay, well, thanks everyone for your time today. I'll send the recording link out once it's processed on my computer. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thanks for walking us through that. I appreciate
Bye,
it.
everyone.
You bet.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.